Welcome to the podcast that's going to take you back to a time where you got to watch TV all day. Don't you miss that? I know I really miss that. So sit back and relax and let me take you back to those good old days. Good morning, evening, and afternoon, people, and welcome to the first episode of the Good Old Days podcast. I'm your host, Sione Cruz, and I'm with my friend, Jack.
Hi.
So, honestly, man, I'm a little tired today. You know what I miss about the good old days, man? I miss nap time, bro.
Bro, I took nap time for granted. Bro, in pre-K, oh my gosh, I would never sleep. And then like on the weekends, my parents would tell me to go to sleep. I would look out the window and be like, it's light outside. I shouldn't be sleeping yet. Bro, I miss it so much.
I took it so much for granted. Now I'm like, I want like a built-in nap time in school right now.
We need to take nap time away from kids in pre-K because they really don't need it or want it, and give it to high schoolers.
They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it like we do.
They don't do the work for it.
Like, man, like going back, like I remember they used to play like the Magic School Bus all the time at school.
Oh, I didn't have that.
You didn't have the Magic School Bus?
I watched it, but not at school.
No, they always used to play it at school for me, man. Like whenever there was a guest teacher, Magic School Bus, man. That was the thing. Like speaking of like shows, what did you watch as a kid?
I was big into Disney. Definitely Disney movies, but talking about shows, I was into Phineas and Ferb. I like Jessie. Kicking it,
Yeah.
Not as well known, but man, you gotta watch it.
No, I remember that show.
Those were like my big three, my go-tos. And then I got into Bunk. The first 3 seasons of Bunk are good. After that, it kind of fell off.
Or, like when they have like the different kids and stuff, I'm like,
it's like, yeah, I mean, like it was kind of acceptable in like the 4th season. It was like a mix. After that, it was.
For me, I was a big Cartoon Network kid. I loved Adventure Time. I was like kind of a Ben 10 fan, but like not really. But like Adventure Time was my show. Regular Show was my show. Like I don't know, that was me. Like I did also watch like Disney.
Cartoon Network. I didn't watch too much, but I watched a little bit of Amazing World of Gumball.
Yeah, I remember
that was pretty much as far as I got into it.
I know my mom really liked that show because my mom, she used to watch a lot of cartoons with us, and that was her show. She liked when we watched Amazing World of Gumball.
One of the shows that I used to like that my parents hated, it was Dino Dan.
Dino Dan. I don't remember that show.
It was basically the show where this kid, he liked dinosaurs and he would talk to he would like go and find dinosaurs around like during school and stuff. But my parents hated the show and they made me stop watching it because of the way he would speak to his parents. And they didn't want it to rub off on me because he kind of he spoke to his parents like he was an adult,
Honestly, but like cartoon parents are like the worst. Like
true.
Imagine
but Dino Dan was different.
Imagine like Dora's parents. Like Dora's parents literally just let her leave into
For
like
real,
the jungle,
bro.
like with like this random monkey that she just found. And I'm like,
it's cool. She's got the map, bro.
She got the map, but what type of map asks you where to go? Think about that.
And true, but honestly, swiper no swiping, the ultimate defense mechanism against anybody on the streets.
Exactly. Just be like swiper no swiping, and then magically goes away. That never made sense to me, but like with like childhood TV shows and do you think that ever like affected you? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, so my grandparents, like on my dad's side, they're big Disney fans. They go to Disney World every year for their anniversary, my grandparents. So pretty much anytime I would go over there, we watched just Disney the whole time. When I was little, we would play those like older Donald Duck shorts. And I just watched those all the time. Some goofy ones too, Mickey Mouse, just Disney when I was over there. And actually, fun fact about those Donald Duck shorts. I have a fun fact for you. So, do you know Donald Duck's middle name?
Wait, Donald Duck has a middle name?
Yes, he has a middle name. It appeared once in one of those shorts. You can go back and look it up. It was on one of his army papers during those propaganda videos back in the 40s. It only says it one time. It only appears one time in the history of Disney. His middle name is Fauntleroy.
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 So his full name is Donald Fauntleroy Duck.
Yep. It appeared one time on his army documents. And that's all. My grandpa would tell me when he would go to Disney World, he would ask cast members, and cast members wouldn't know. Like, it's a thing that like you either know it or you don't.
No, because I would never know that. Because like imagine like being like
not a lot of people watch those, especially now.
Imagine like being like the cast member for like Donald Duck, and you're in like the suit, and like this like guy's like, oh, it's Donald Fauntleroy Duck, and you're like,
or if they just ask like, Donald, what's your middle name, and they don't know.
They're like, I don't have one.
Yeah,
you do, you know. But like with like those like formative years and like stuff, like I was doing some like research and stuff on this, and did you know that what you watch can affect your personality?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, yeah, because it's like different shows, the way that people treat people in those shows can have an effect on you, because it's like that's what you grew up seeing. That's how you saw people communicate, you know?
Right. Like, and like that doesn't just go for like TV shows. It goes for like your parents and like everybody that you're around. Like they did this study, and it was like this like you know those stuffed animals that kind of like sway back and forth when you like move them around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those like they're like on like a ball. Mm-hmm. Like they gave one to like a family, and then like multiple families, and some families they like smacked it around and stuff, and over the years the kids they like just instinctively started like beating up on the toy,
right,
and stuff, but other families they like cared for the toy and they like treated gently, and then after years like they give a kid another one and they like instinctively don't beat up on it because of like what they saw. Right. So you that formulates,
and you could probably see a difference like as they grew up or like went through high school, comparing like how aggressive or upfront they are with people based off of those studies.
Right. You know, I think that's kind of cool about like the human brain, and like how the brain can like how the early brain picks up on these things like super quick. It's like clockwork. You see something, you pick up on
it. Because it's like because your brain can't make up new things. Your brain just functions in the way that it knows. And a fun fact that can go along with that. So it's like, you know how like when you're sleeping and then you're dreaming, right? Mm-hmm. And like you see faces in your dream, and sometimes people don't have faces.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like blank.
Like none of my dreams have faces.
The thing about that is, it's because your mind can't make up faces. Your mind cannot build faces. So if you see a quote unquote stranger in your dream, mm-hmm. it's not actually a stranger. It is someone that you have seen in your life at some point in some time. Even if you were just walking on the street and saw that face, your brain recognized it and put it into there, because your brain can't make up faces. It's not capable of that. So even if you only saw someone on the street, your brain knows that face now.
I didn't even know that.
Even if you can't think about that face in your dream, if a face appears, that means you've seen it in person at some point or on TV.
Because your brain can't make up like random generated faces.
It can't generate features like that.
But like that's the thing. Like that's the thing about like the human brain that's like confusing me. Like why can't it do that? Like why can it do all these other things, but why can't it do that specific thing? You know?
I don't know. I don't know the reason. I just know that it.
I remember I grew up like as a kid, like everybody was saying like, oh, you only use like 5% of your brain, but then
that's like you only use 5% per
like at a time. You only use 5% at a time.
Yeah.
But I was like, ooh, what if we use like 100% of our brains? So I'm like,
every kid that heard that thought that.
It was like, oh, like I'll have like superpowers, you know? Because I was like a very like imaginative kid, like.
But it's because different sections of your brain do different things.
Right. You know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like watching things like that, like I don't know like the part of your brain that it's called, but like it stores like whatever you like witness, you know, as a kid, and especially like watching things, you know, when you're watching things, you witness things, you know, and you see things like, you know, like that's why they have like Veggie Tales and stuff like that, you know, mm-hmm. and stuff like that, like teaching kids good morals, because like in like you watch them as an adult and you're or like as like a teenager, like this is dumb, like this is not gonna work for kids, but like you have to realize that kids' minds are so like mendable that like
that's why like all the cartoons that we grew up with are so like, I don't want to say like simple, but they're easy to understand and easy to pick up on.
Right.
And that's why like even bullies in those shows aren't even actually like, they're not bullying.
Right.
Because the people that make those shows know the effect that their show can have on children. So even like in Phineas and Ferb, I know lots of people watch that. Even when Buford would bully Bowgie, it wasn't even really bullying. It was just like,
it was kind of like,
it was more like playful, like,
right.
And it's like how you would like act around your friends or something,
because like that's like really how it like differentiates the fiction versus the reality, because like you go from like fictional bullying, because like I remember back when I was a kid and I like watched like shows about high school, I was like, oh, I don't want to go to high school, like they like bully you and stuff. But like in reality, like going to high school now, I'm like,
it's not really like that.
But it's really not like that. Yeah. Bullying is not that like upfront and
and
like
I feel like that's why shows always overcompensated that like the good people always win, is to show that even in the cases where they do show actual bullying, just to show the real right way to treat it and react to it. So that's why they overcompensate for the good guys always win. Like the good people are always right. Like
the underdog always wins.
You always know in those shows who's gonna come out on top, because they want to emphasize that even if they do show real bullying.
Right. And like that's how you realize like it is fiction, because a lot of these things like in like shows, like a lot of like the endings, they're planted that way for a reason. They're and like that's why like I know my mom was like always like, don't watch everything, like you gotta watch what you watch, because some things are like,
the first time I saw it, like I can't remember what show or movie it was, but I do remember how I felt the first time I saw the good guy didn't win, or like the people that we had been following didn't come out on top. I was like, how is this
right?
But then I started like getting into like, then I started getting like real stuff with school, and I was dealing with classes and dealing with real stuff, and I was like, I mean, for a while it's good not to be shown that stuff, but it's like, if you get shown that and then you can see, and the people that didn't come out on top, if you can see them handle it, that can rub off on you. And it's like, now I know that things aren't always going to go my way, so it's like, well, now I know, and I'm preparing myself for that. Right.
Like I know I had like this big problem as a kid where I thought I was just gonna be good at everything. Like first jump.
My grandma hyped me up 24/7.
Because like everybody hypes you up as a kid, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be so good at it. Then you fail, and you're like,
you get a new haircut, you're 1,000 times faster. You can beat Usain Bolt in the 100-meter.
You get new shoes. You're like,
new shoes. It's over, bro.
Got this. And then like, because like I remember like during like when I used to play like basketball, I got so discouraged of myself because I was just like, as a kid, I was like, yeah, I'm Kobe. I got this. I'm gonna be the star.
Because your dad didn't smack the ball out of your hand.
Exactly. He's like, you're garbage. Like, no, he was like, you got this, man. But like, I was like, I'm gonna be like junior Shaq, because I played center as a kid. I was the tallest. I've always been like the tallest kid in my class. So I played center, and I was like, I'm Shaq. And then they're like, they didn't pass the ball to me. I'm like, what the heck?
I'm here. I'm tall.
But I was just not that good. But then once you realize, when you get older, you're like, yeah, you're not gonna be the best at everything, like off jump. Like after like that formative years, realizing that hard work beats talent.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anytime, like if you compare people that just are naturally good or naturally lucky, that are like, if you look at sports people who are naturally good at something compared to people that actually put in the work and train, you can see a difference. Because even though they're both very talented, like they're very good at what they do, you can tell the difference between people that put in the work and the people that were just like naturally decent and improved subtly. Right.
And that also goes back to like, what you watch, like that, like I obviously got that from somewhere, and a lot of it was like growing up with like shows where like people were just like super strong or something. And like, even though I was like, yeah, it's fake, I probably still internalized it without even realizing it. And like, so like I got that like
And
mentality.
honestly, like I said before, I love the show Kicking It. Part of the reason I love that show is because, well, one, lead character's name, Jack, I already know.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just naturally good at his form of martial arts. I forget what kind of form they're doing. That show.
I think it was karate.
It was just karate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was karate.
Well, he was just naturally good because his grandpa was an instructor and he was taught from very young age. He was just like naturally like he was just always good. And I ended up getting put into Taekwondo, and I went through Taekwondo and I was awful. Like I was not good, but I pushed myself, and like I love that show. I love doing what I was doing. I ended up getting 2 black belts.
Nice.
I got invited to nationals multiple times. I actually got a few medals at nationals one time, and I was only able to go once because all the other times it was out of state and my parents didn't want to go. But one year was in Baton Rouge, so we were able to go to that. But I appreciated it a lot more because I knew, because like when I started getting medals and I got higher rankings in my belt, when I got my first black belt, I was like, I appreciate it a lot more because I wasn't already good at this.
Right.
I could look back and be like, I worked for each of these belts and each of these medals, and I improved each time. And it was just so like I could appreciate it so much more.
Right. And like in like that show, showing you that, like
it is cool. Like it's awesome to be just naturally good at stuff and just boom, boom, boom.
But like also you see like the difference from like your life in that show. You're like, wow, like this guy was like already good, but I worked, I worked for this, and like
by the time I finished, I was like, he might be taller than me. I could take him.
Right.
I couldn't, but
but like like all these like shows about like I would say like Adventure Time. Like I used to watch a lot of Adventure Time and like seeing like Finn's journey through
adventures,
yeah, like all of his adventures and seeing how he grows as a person. That's why I like, as like with like my TV shows, like seeing your character grow as a person.
Growth.
You see like their hard work, even if it was just like a cartoon, and like some people are gonna be like, Yoni, shut up, they're cartoons, they don't have any meaning, but they do though.
Honestly, one of the biggest things that hit me involving growth was watching live action Disney shows. I would watch it through, I'd get to the end, and everything seemed like everything grew at a natural pace. But then I would restart the show and see how young everybody was,
right? And
how like, not, I wouldn't want to say like worse of an actor when they're children, but like I could see like, man, they just seemed like this, like just like getting better and better, and it's like natural because I didn't see anything different. But then I just all of a sudden jumped back to the beginning, and I was like, man, and these people were like,
you see, look how young they were, because like like when you're a kid, you don't realize that like these people are actors, but like when you get, I feel like when I was a kid, I didn't really know like really what an actor was. But when I got older, I can like appreciate actors for like what they do and like how much growth they have.
You know that thought, like when you're thinking about people at like such high positions, they're like, these people, like they were never kids, or they were never like normal people like me. They never just went to school. They were just like there, like they just exist there, Right,
but they, you realize that they did, they do these things and they got to this position.
Depending on who their parents are, but the majority of the time, yes.
Majority of the time, like unless we're talking about like like Jaden Smith.
If you got connections, you got connections.
Because like the son of Will Smith, he was he got Karate Kid, and it was like I never watched Karate Kid as a kid, but
the Karate Kid, the first, I mean it's Will Smith's son, but like it's all right.
Right.
The first one is just like, it's the Karate Kid,
Right.
So it was like, I mean, the movie's okay, but it was like, you could have just left it. There was no need.
Right. And like that's the thing with like sequels, like Lion King 2. No.
Yeah, Lion King 2. Like the live action was cool because it was live action, and it was like cool to see that technology.
Right.
And they kept it the same as the original. It's just a live action. But Lion King 2. You didn't have to.
It wasn't necessary.
And then eventually they were on Disney Plus. They released what was the name? It was like Lion King something, where Simba's son.
Oh yeah, that like lion.
And it was cool because it was like just a little lion with all his friends and the savannah, and I was like, all right, but it was like It's not necessary.
Like,
I'm just gonna like, if I eventually have kids, I'm gonna show them the Lion King, and then we can go to the live action Lion King. But I'm not gonna push the show. I'm not gonna push Lion King to. I'm not gonna,
like The Little Mermaid 2 wasn't necessary. Am
Right.
I excited for the live action? Yes.
With Cars, it's different because Cars was different.
True. Cars was like the
Cars.
only cartoon movie that I actually liked the trilogy. I think there was 3 of them, right?
No, there was 3. And now Toy Story, there was 4. The 4th one was, ugh. The 3 was all right, but the first 2 were really good.
It's the rule of 3s. You got to keep it in the 3s. If you don't keep it in
The 4th one was.
once you get to 4, then I'm like, okay. No.
Yeah, you're good, buddy.
I'm glad they ended it at 4 though. Like, I'm glad they didn't like keep dragging it on. Like, I'm glad. I didn't personally watch it, but I know what happens.
Mhm.
About like no spoilers for the show though. But like,
it was kind of like the same thing that we were talking about at the beginning with Bunked. It's like they had all these new toys, and I was like, man, who are these toys? Like, no, I want Woody, Buzz, the potatoes, and
Right.
like.
But like with like Toy Story,
Slinky,
like that really
Rex.
shows you like especially Toy Story 1. That's especially like the main moral of that was like friendship. It was like, but like. And like they're like, oh, that's cliche, but like not really, because friendship, like a lot of other shows teach you different ways of friendship, and
And
like
a lot of shows, they're just automatically friends. Like,
Right.
they start, oh, these 2 people are friends. Like Phineas and Ferb. Oh, Phineas and Ferb are brothers, and they have all their friends. It started like that.
Right.
With Adventure Time, they were already friends.
friends.
But
Toy Story
Toy
was
Story,
different.
Woody set out his plastic troops to go spot out the toys. Then Buzz came up and was like,
Right.
trying to show a Buzz, but then like halfway through the movie, they just ended up clicking and they helped each other. And then the second movie, they were boom, 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 best friends, helping each other, getting all this done.
Right, but like like with like that, like it does teach like
Show,
that,
like the building of friendship.
right? That young mind that like don't just automatically be like, I want to talk to this person, I hate this person, because you don't know, you could be friends with them in the future.
Yeah.
Like
Don't hate someone until they give you a reason to hate them.
right, like because like that was the thing. Woody never like
Yeah, like Buzz never did anything for Woody to hate him about. It was just that he was a newer toy,
right,
and he was scared of the change. But like, there was no real reason to hate him. There might have been a reason to be afraid of him, but there was no reason to be like,
get out of my town.
Yeah,
And but like that's and I feel like if like we can like honestly like do this for an hour and like just going down the list of like different like
I could
morals,
talk about this for
and
hours, bro.
but like that's the thing about this show, because like it's all about just like talking. Is really like just being like, hey, like, you remember this? Because like because like a lot of people have different memories of like their childhood, like different feelings and different like senses of nostalgia, and I feel like that is a powerful tool in the mind, because a lot of nostalgia sometimes brings like a sense of like, oh, that was so nice, I remember that feeling. It makes you feel like a happy feeling,
Mhm.
and like that's kind of what I wanted for like this podcast, to like give that happy feeling, and like when you're watching this, be like, oh, I remember that.
And,
I remember that.
I feel like it goes beyond like just that happy feeling, because anytime that I think about a show that I grew up with, or a movie that I grew up with, it's not just me thinking about that show.
Mhm.
I think about the show, and then there's automatically some sort of memory that correlates it, whether it's like where I was sitting, who I was with, who I enjoyed it the most with, like those Donald Duck things. Anytime I think of that, I'm on the floor, like I'm either on the floor of my grandparents' living room, just laying there watching the TV,
Mhm.
or I'm up sitting on the arm of my chair with my grandpa, just watching that for hours on end.
Mhm.
And it was like, yeah, Phineas and Ferb laying on the couch at my old home. It like just a memory with each thing, even though it's not the actual thing
Right.
I was watching. Something automatically correlates to that.
Right, and that's just the best feeling,
Mhm.
But all right, man, that will be the first episode. Thank you so much for
Yep.
featuring here, and thank you all for watching or listening. My bad. Thank you all for listening to this podcast, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Good Old Days.
Wait, before you go, and I know you were about to click off, this video is sponsored by Frozen Popsicles. Now, when you were a kid, I know the ice cream man used to come to your place and always used to get you ice cream, but there is no ice cream man anymore. So, what do you have to do? Go get yourself some Frozen Popsicles. Frozen has three flavors: cherry, icicle, raspberry, and grape. Get yourself some Frozen Popsicles today and make your entire family happy during this summer season.